Hello all my storytime friends, I'm Mr. Peach. Have you ever wondered what a small crab trapped by captors such as kids or birds might be thinking? Well, today we're going to read Snippy the Crab's High-Flying Adventure by Alison Miles. If you have this book, go grab it so we can read together.
Mr. Peach reads aloud.
Snippy the Crab's High-Flying Adventure. As each day dawned warm, summer waxing full height, with brilliantine bay glinting diamond-tipped light, all life at the shoreline sought shady retreat from the sun's searing rays and the blind noonday heat. Yet salt-spattered children, unfazed by the sun, jostled together for seasonal fun, with buckets and nets and voices resounding, they meant to entrap any saltwater foundling. Holed up in his rock pool this holiday season, Snippy'd stayed out of sight with every good reason, and he sulkily studied the crowd keen-eyed staring, deciding that instant to do something daring. So, out like a rocket he raced from his ledge, darting zippity-whippet for a furthermost edge. It felt good to be free. Looking up he could see small hands grasping and reaching.
Oh, they really need teaching. I'm more than a match. I'm a crab they can't catch.
As his friends watched him scurrying, their minds were one worrying.
Quick, Snippy, run faster, or there'll be a disaster.
Then yelled a voice, "Look down there, it's a crab! Get your hand in, Dad! Go on, make a grab!" Plunging deep to his elbows, the man's large hands fumbled. With pathway obstructed, Snippy toppled a tumble, and legs all at 6 ways his gamble regretted. Cast adrift from his hideout, alas, he was netted. "My bucket's right here. Let's take him to Mum." Snippy knew he'd been foolish. He felt gobulous glum, and the girl raced off hot foot up the sand, pail swinging wildly from small dimpled hand. She called to her folks, "Hey, look what I found!" And her brothers and sister all gathered around. "Wait for me," panted Dad. "You've all something to learn. Crab handling's a skill. I'll teach you in turn." So Snippy was passed from each child to the next. Fingers squashing and squeezing, he felt grievously vexed. Yet within a short while the Dad came to his aid. Preparations complete for the picnic he'd laid. He called to his children, "It's time for your lunch. It's all a bit sandy, but that adds to the crunch." "But my crab," Gemma cried, "he needs something to eat." And she slipped him a sliver of best luncheon meat. But Snippy stayed still. He felt not at all well, and he tucked up his feet tight under his shell. After lunch, hunger sated, more games were begun, Mum and Dad lazing languid in ripening sun, while Snippy, still captive in open-top pot, through the long afternoon grew devilish hot. Not till late afternoon did the family stir, Snippy's eyes proper popping at the question he heard. "Can I take my crab home to keep as a pet? He'd make the best present I've ever had yet." "A crab," said the mum, "needs the seaside to thrive. At home in a tank he'd not long survive. We'll tip him out here right by this foam. He'll head down the beach and find his way home." Now Snippy knew well he had no time to waste, so keen was his longing for sea-briny taste, that in haste he forgot the first rule when on land. Keep your eyes on the sky, don't look at the sand. And while he had crossed barely half of the beach, he heard right above him a terrible screech. A gull, like a paperweight, dropped from on high, white wings stark, bright against blue cobalt sky. Snippy scrambled right down, half concealed in the ground. Yet snap! Clapped a bill, a razor-sharp tweak, and Snippy was airborne, clasped fast in a beak. Upwards they soared, spinning and reeling. Horror! Alarm! Did the sky have no ceiling?
"Oh, of all life's adventures I wanted to try, not once,"
groaned poor Snippy,
"have I wanted to fly."
Yet his trip through the air was very near over, for the bird turned and banked toward the cliffs topped with clover, and folding her wingspan the gull came to land on vertiginous ledge high over the strand. tossed from her bill, Snippy tumbled on down to the well of her nest with her chicks mud-splash brown. Three beaks gaping angrily, hungry indeed, it was long overdue their supper-time feed. Then jabbing at Snippy, she spoke to her brood.
This miserly morsel's a poor kind of food. I'll fly off once more back down to the sea. I'm sure to find something more tasty for tea.
Now Snippy was stalwart, it's often been said, and whatever the trouble, he kept a cool head. But escape from a cliff top? He surely was beaten, yet his mind was set firm. He'd no wish to be eaten. So as soon as the mother on thermal departed, Snippy turned to her chicks, this knowledge imparted.
You know, I'm not tasty. I'm all sharp, brittle shell. If you eat me, I fear you'd feel rather unwell.
What? A dinner that speaks? Now, that's a surprise,
Squawked the chicks with amazement they did not disguise.
It looks rather nasty. What on earth can it be?
I'm a crab,
Muttered Snippy.
and I live in the sea.
Oh, you come from the beach? Do please tell us more. We're longing to know what life's like at the shore.
So he started recounting, fine fables inventing, with each thrilling story their friendship cementing. As he told his last tale, tears welled up in his eyes. Yet the cause of his woe the chicks could not surmise.
I've no wish, like most fish, to be part of a meal. So from deep in my heart, I make this appeal. Please help me return to my home in the weed. I'm still a young crab. I've my whole life to lead.
But Snippy,
They chorused.
we couldn't eat you. To gobble a friend would be something to rue. But how can we help? You're so far from the kelp.
Snippy's answer was plucky.
There's only one way. Off the face of the cliff, straight down, no delay. But you'll all need to help, and it might be quite tough, for my legs are all tangled in nest-lining fluff.
So struggling and straining, their efforts sustaining, he was nudged by degrees to the nest's very edge, and thanking his friends from the brink of the ledge, he launched himself off, free into the air. But unlike a bird, he couldn't stay there. Downwards he plunged like a lemming stampede, falling faster and faster, still gathering speed, till at last with a splash and a shell-crunching crash, he'd broken the seal of the cool mint-green sea, and he let himself drift, as soft as can be. When his claws met at last with the sea's sandy ground, head whirling and twirling, still spinning around, he rested a while till his senses recovered, then looking about him, delighted, discovered that the place where he'd landed he'd been to before. He was not far away from his own rock-pool door. Nearing home he perceived the shrimps looking out, and when they spied him they clamored a shout.
Snippy's on his way home. He's nigh nearly here.
And the waters resounded with maritime cheer. Snippy entered the rock pool and flopped down quite shattered, but his friends kept applauding. He was heartily flattered.
My tale can wait, friends. I must get to bed. But please hear my pledge, for this has to be said. I swear, as I live, I shall no more endeavor to play silly games with humankind ever. Nor will I journey outside of these walls, for life beyond yonder has many pitfalls.
Yet when his friends heard these words, they all started to laugh.
Oh, Snippy,
They chuckled.
don't think us all daft. But adventure, we know, you can never resist. From facing its perils, you'll not long desist. But remember, dear Snippy, our fearless explorer, whose quest is adventure in far-flung Bambora. No matter how distant the seas that you roam, we will always be here to welcome you home.
I just love Snippy the Crab's adventures. I thought he was a goner for sure when the gull took him up, up and away. Have you ever seen small animals living in the water? Thanks for reading with me. Make sure to subscribe and have an awesome day, girls and boys. Until next time, I'm Mr. Peach. Bye.
Mr. Peach reads aloud.
Subscribe to Mr. Peach Reads Aloud